what they were paid, compared to an educator's wages today. They were paid roughly 500 dinars a month. Now, the dinar at that time was 4.25 grams of gold. So that meant you were getting 2,125 grams of gold every month. Now, or about 75 ounces of gold. Now, actually, when I designed this lecture, gold was at about $3.20 an ounce. I think today it's, what is it, now $30-something an ounce? I don't know. But at $3.20 an ounce, that was $24,000 a month that these guys were paid to sit around and think great thoughts, which is pretty good. One of the, and I have to say, I really love this picture. It kind of looks like it's like a little daycare center for Mensa kids or something. They're just sitting there, all learning away, and they're kind of cute. Makes you think mommies are going to come pick them up anytime. But okay, next slide, please. One of the topics that they were very much interested in researching there, was astronomy. Astronomy was a very big deal. Now, modern astronomy, Western astronomy, began with Copernicus. That's what we, or at least what we learned in school. I don't know what you're learning in school these days. I hope it's more than that. And he had a very controversial theory of heliocentrism. Helio is the sun, center, meaning the sun's the center of the solar system. Well, I mean, of our solar system, instead of everything revolving around the Earth, which is what people thought for thousands and thousands of years, Copernicus said, no. Well, in fact, Copernicus, next slide, please, relied on research that was done by earlier Arab astronomers and mathematicians at places, next slide, please, like the 13th century observatory at Maragha, which is in Iran. Next slide. It was the largest and most advanced astronomy observatory, of its kind at the time. Next slide. Also in a place called Ray, this is outside of Tehran in Iran. Obviously an artist's interpretation. And it was at this observatory, next slide, that a fellow by the name of Al-Biruni, who lived in the late 900s, early 1000s. He discussed the theory of the Earth's axis about 600 years before Galileo. Next slide. He plotted eclipses and developed trigonometric tables to chart the movement of the heavens. Next slide. He also translated Euclid's treatises on geometry and plotted planetary orbits, and he was a remarkable genius, this guy. Now, another figure to come out of another Beit al-Hikmah grad, a House of Wisdom grad, next slide please, is this fellow, Al-Khwarizmi. He introduced to the West what we now know as Arabic numerals. Now, and he also invented the concept of zero. Now, let that just sink in for a second, okay? I mean, before that, all right, in the Roman world, which stretched from the borders of Scotland all the way to Persia, okay, people were using Roman numerals. I mean, have you ever tried to do long division with Roman numerals? I mean, M, C, X, I mean, it's impossible. It's laborious, you can't do it. The Arabic numerals, the place decimal system, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, what I'm talking about here, and tens and hundreds and thousands. He got the concept from India, but he introduced it. he also was responsible for this. The next slide, please. I put this up here actually to show you where he came from. He came from a place called Transoxiana, which is up here, which is now Uzbekistan. It's called Transoxiana because it's trans, across the Oxus River. Next slide. And there he is again. He was also personally responsible for me, and perhaps some of you, being totally miserable in high school, because he introduced the world to algebra. He actually named it algebra. It's an Arabic word, algebra, which means restoration. You know, in an algebraic equation, you know, x equals something. You're always trying to get these things to equal. That's what it means, to restore. Next slide, please. This is actually the first page of his manuscript on algebra. Next slide. You know, for Muslims, astronomy and mathematics, they kind of went hand in hand. And the reason they did was because it was an opportunity for them to use numbers and the heavens, you see, to kind of look beyond, they were trying to understand what God was about through the material world and what they could see. Next slide. On a more practical level, understanding how the stars worked could help you in travel, obviously, so you can get from point A to point B. Next slide. Also in shipping, naturally, knowledge of the stars come in handy, and the Arabs were great traders. Next slide. And they also, you know, in their travels, of course, traded an awful lot with the Western world. They traded a lot with the Italians, with Christians, and really going back to the, you know, I mean, you've heard of Marco Polo, right? I mean, Marco Polo, you know, why is it Marco Polo? Because he's an Italian who went, you know, along the Silk Road, went to China. These connections had been established very, very long ago. We have the Muslims to thank for really creating some of, you know, for Wall Street, if you will. I mean, not the current crisis, but they, you know, in league with Venetian bankers, they created the first joint stock companies. They also came up with a very handy little item, an IOU, which you write on one piece of paper, and they called it a SAKK, S-A-K-K,